The Pittsburgh Steelers fall to 7-5, probably the worst loss of the season, maybe the worst loss of Mike Tomlin's career. And in the midst of it, things just got worse. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackpine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they fall to 7-5, an embarrassing loss to the Arizona Cardinals. We'll dive into everything later throughout the day, obviously. But for right now, the biggest news coming out of Pittsburgh surrounding the Steelers is the loss of Kenny Pickett and where they go from here. Right now, this is what we know. Kenny Pickett suffered an ankle injury or aggravated an ankle injury in Week 13 against the Cardinals. He left just before halftime. The initial injury actually happened a week earlier against the Cincinnati Bengals. Mike Tomlin labeled it as discomfort. Kenny Pickett said, "This is no big deal. He's been dealing with this before. It's not a problem. He'll be fine." He goes into Arizona. He seemingly aggravates it. Whatever the injury is, we're yet to know. What we do know is that he will undergo surgery. According to Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Jerry Dulac, the Steelers quarterback will miss 2 to 4 weeks after undergoing surgery this morning. Don't know what needs to be repaired. Don't know why he has to have surgery, but the 2 to 4 weeks, while it seems long, while it is a very tough spot to be if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, the big picture is this is much less or much better than the Pittsburgh Steelers initially feared it was. At the beginning of this, the reports that were flying in were all over the place. It started with the Steelers were going to lose Kenny Pickett for an extended period of time, that it was not good, according to Dulac. Then it was that the Pittsburgh Steelers feared the worst in Kenny Pickett's injury and that he could miss the rest of the season if he had to undergo surgery. Luckily, it calms down. It settles at 2 to 4 weeks for the Pittsburgh Steelers. What this means is that Mitch Trubisky will take over as the starter. Mason Rudolph will be the backup immediately. Everybody starts flooding DMs and asking online, hey, is there any chance Mason Rudolph starts for the Pittsburgh Steelers, or they even consider making him the starter over Mitch Trubisky? The answer right now is no. They are not going to consider a quarterback change between Mason and Mitch. They're going to rock with Mitch. They're going to let everything happen and see how that plays out, at least in this week. Now, if Mitch Trubisky goes out, has a terrible game against New England on Thursday night, throws a couple of interceptions, the Pittsburgh Steelers just don't seem to find a rhythm with them, then moving forward, I could see a competition actually taking place. Whether the Steelers want to admit it or not, Mason Rudolph is a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL from time to time. Not all the time, not on a consistent basis, but in dire situations, he has stepped in before and won, and I think he could do it again. So the Pittsburgh Steelers won't hold back there. They'll allow themselves to give themselves the best opportunity at quarterback without Kenny Pickett. But for the time being, it will be Mitch Trubisky. This will take up right up until the playoffs, which is very tough for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They currently sit 7-5. They're still the 5th seed in the AFC. They are just 2 games back from the Baltimore Ravens for first place in the AFC North. They still have to play Baltimore one more time this season. But this is probably the worst time that Kenny Pickett could go down, and that the Steelers offense, especially after the most embarrassing loss of their season, can lose their biggest piece to the puzzle. This is the next 2 to 4 weeks. Let's go over the schedule. Be getting cool outside, but it's red hot on the field. So there's no better time than now to announce that today we've partnered with DraftKings, an official partner of the NFL. And thanks to DraftKings, we're bringing you even closer to the action. Right now, new customers who bet $5 will get $150 in bonus bets instantly. You heard that right, instantly. But that's not all. If you're already a DraftKings customer, you get a no-sweat same-game parlay. Get a bonus bet back if your same-game parlay/same-game parlay X doesn't hit. Max reward limits do apply. And if you're a multi-sport bettor, no worries. DraftKings allows you to combine multiple bets for a shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers who use our promo code ALLSteelers and bet $5 will get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code ALLSteelers, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Thursday night against New England. Then you go to Indianapolis, another team that is currently in the AFC playoff picture as the 7th seed. They have the same record as the Pittsburgh Steelers. They'll be fighting to leap them in the standings. From there, you head back home to play Cincinnati, a game that, you should win. You beat them the first time, but who knows without your starting quarterback and for how bad this team sunk quickly after their win over the Bengals last time. Then you travel out west to go play Seattle. That is not going to be an easy game. It's actually going to be one of your most difficult games on the road. And you come back to the East Coast. You stay on the road. You go to Baltimore, week 18, maybe a do or die game, maybe a playoff deciding game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett, if it's that 4-week mark, could come back right in that Seattle Seahawks, Baltimore Ravens gap to see if he could come back right before the playoffs. If not, it'll be right as the postseason begins. If it's sooner, obviously better, but the Steelers are going to want to make sure that their quarterback is 100%. And at this point, Kenny Pickett, I don't want to say he's injury prone. I don't want to put a label on him yet, but he has dealt with a number of injuries in a very short career. He has missed pretty significant time for the Pittsburgh Steelers and really just over a year of starting. Not good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They want to make sure that he is 100% healthy. They're not going to want to risk more injuries and more missed time as they enter the postseason. Not good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now let's talk about where they can go. Can they make this work? Is Arizona the beginning of the downfall for the Pittsburgh Steelers? I chalk this up as maybe the worst loss of Mike Tomlin's entire head coaching career. And this is the first time in a while. There have been times before, plenty of them, that you kind of felt like maybe Mike Tomlin, his seat is warming up a little bit, that this isn't as clear-cut as it seems. And Art Rooney firing a coach, and you could say what you want, a lot of people doubt me, but I have heard from more than one person at this point that it was Art Rooney who made that call to fire Matt Canada. That speaks volumes in this situation because clearly he wants to win and he's tired of not winning or not having the success that he believes his team should have. Mike Tomlin clearly got in the way here. The team was unprepared in every facet of this one. And the biggest one that stands out, there are two of them actually. The first one is having to call a timeout on your first offensive play after halftime, after a 45-minute delay. You waited 45 minutes. You had 45 minutes to get your team ready to take the field, and instead on the first play you have to take a timeout because you don't know what you're doing or what the execution of the play should be. And then later, after a timeout, after another timeout on defense, you have 12 men on the field. Those are the sloppiest penalties that a team could possibly have in the worst moments possible. And those both, you could say whatever you want about position coaches or players, both of those fall on Mike Tomlin not having his team prepared, and really seemingly a team that overlooked the Arizona Cardinals in every facet. And that's all we talked about all week long in the locker room. And I sat around and I thought it was dumb questions. I sat there and every single time it was asked, how do you not overlook the Cardinals? How do you not overlook the New England Patriots? I was like, nobody in here is overlooking anybody. This is the NFL. They preach that all the time. Clearly I was wrong because the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't even see the Arizona Cardinals until the score was over and they lost. And then they had everything great to say about them, but going into it, they were not prepared whatsoever. Moving forward, look, at the good thing is Mike Tomlin falls to bad teams quite a bit, but he also bounces back better than most coaches in the NFL. And it's really tough to say that he's going to lose back-to-back games at home, especially against bad teams. I expect them to come back, and I expect them to have some newfound success and to find their way back there, even with Mitch Trubisky at quarterback. Before we head out, let's run through a couple of other injuries that I do not expect the Steelers to have available on Thursday night against the New England Patriots. Landon Roberts dealing with a groin injury. I talked to Blake Martinez after the game yesterday. He says he's ready to go. He feels comfortable with the defense. He believes that he has the communication skills and the veteran experience to step in and play whatever role they need him to play immediately. Mark Robinson struggled last night and has struggled in every opportunity that he has gotten to play inside linebacker for the Pittsburgh Steelers this season. So I would anticipate it's Blake Martinez and Michael Walker starting for the Steelers on Thursday night. Isaac Seumalo with the shoulder injury, that's another big one. I don't know how he turns around that quickly. The way I look at it is if you left Sunday, chances are you would have at least missed a day of practice, if not 2 days of practice. And the Pittsburgh Steelers only get 2 days of practice this week. So it's tough to say that a veteran is going to come back. Now, that being said, Roberts and Seumalo do not need practice days in order to play in a game like some younger guys will need. I still don't know if he's healthy enough to go on Thursday. I would expect, and this is all speculation, obviously, that he would not be able to go and that they would be down at least those two starters. Minkah Fitzpatrick broke his hand during the game, literally broke his hand during the game, casted it up, said he'll be fine next week. He's just going to club it. Things will be fine. That's Minkah Fitzpatrick to the fullest, but I don't expect him to miss much time. And if we're being honest, I've seen some guys run around a football field, and we all have, with some clubs on their hands, especially playing the safety role, maybe some inside linebacker, that sometimes it actually works in your favor because you do not mind swinging that thing around, punching some balls out, and making sure the guys really feel that, yeah, you got a cast on your arm, and you might not feel it, but they feel it. I expect Minkah to be totally fine. I don't expect this to hinder his game at all, and he says he'll be ready to go. We'll wait and see how long Kenny Pickett's final timetable is and what exactly the injury was for his ankle. But for right now, the Steelers are going to be down at least 3 starters against the New England Patriots, highlighted by their quarterback, who almost had the worst case scenario happen to him in a bad loss to the Cardinals.